The Orville New Horizons Review, Episode 7, From Unknown Graves.
This episode was so
I know.
like such a shippy episode.
Well, it also had a rather dark bit to it that really makes the Kalons make a lot more sense.
Yeah, it really
I mean,
personalized.
it wasn't it wasn't shocking that this was the reason, but it still was.
And I mean, we already knew that was the reason because that's what they explained, but seeing it firsthand and getting to see it from their point of view really hammers it home.
Yeah.
That really is oh my God. And it really brings to mind the slavery of that is still going through. People are still going through in some parts of the world.
And it kind of made that one girl think maybe I am kind of being an asshole.
The doctor?
No, not the doctor. The one that hates. Yeah, because it's like you can see her expression. It's like, oh.
Oh yeah, when they explained it to her, yeah, they're sorry that it's like, I'm sorry your friend died, but once he explained what he personally went through, she realizes that no war is black and white. In war, there never really is a good guy and a bad guy. It's just two sides. And depending on which side you're on determines who the good guy and bad guy is. And even if,
it depends on the war. Some wars are a lot closer to gray. Some are a little closer to black and white. It depends on the war.
I mean, even the really, really black and white ones, like Nazis. Nazis were definitely the bad guys, but most of those soldiers weren't, didn't believe in it. They had to. They would have been killed if they didn't follow orders. And some of them even turned their back and tried to fight it, but again, ended up killed because they didn't follow orders. So there is no fully black and white war. Even the closest to black and white there is, there's still shades of gray in it.
It just depends on where along that spectrum it is, because some wars are very gray, some wars are very, very close to black and white. Because you're going to have the people fighting on the ground, which sometimes they're not. It's not, they don't have a choice in the matter either. But then again, only following orders has been used to try and get away with a lot of things. But there's some things that information kept from people. It's like, oh yeah, you're shelling in a military installation over there. No, you're actually shelling an orphanage or a hospital or something like that. They don't know about that. They were given coordinates. They thought they're firing on a military target, and they weren't.
Exactly. Even the good guys have done really bad shit. It doesn't matter who the bad guy, quote unquote bad guy is in a war. Good guys, the good guys can be just as bad. And so it's just seeing the difference of perspective. And with her, she lost the woman she loved. She lost somebody that, as she said, she could have seen herself, having a life with her. But because of that war, she never knows. But that war happened because people, the Kalons were themselves traumatized, were themselves tortured and enslaved.
Oh, I would have definitely murdered those kids.
Oh yeah. I wanted to murder those kids through the screen, like freaking. And the worst part is that is how slave owners sometimes have acted in the past, and even today.
Well, once that's the thing. Once you dehumanize people, that's why when atrocities are to be made, the first thing they do is dehumanize the people that they want to do something to. They're not
Exactly.
human. They're lesser. That way, it makes it so much easier to do so
They're
because they're not
savages.
they're not they're not
Savages.
human.
They're the
They're
inhuman.
lesser. Slavery, so much easier when you don't think of people as human.
Yeah, when they're little more than animals.
Yeah.
And in their case, it's like, well, technically, you don't have a soul or whatever. We literally made you, your machine, so it's just like, whatever.
Yeah, but they made them sentient. They gave them
Yeah. Not
a
the,
soul, and
not
then
the best idea there.
no, I understand. I want a tool that can do what we want it to do, but at the same time, if you're gonna use that tool and give it a soul, you should treat it with the respect.
It's
I saw the
basically was it A Measure of a Man, the data court
oh
thing.
yeah,
It's kind of
yeah,
like that, but they went the wrong way with it.
yeah.
Instead of
Instead
going,
of
oh, well, this is clearly a sentient being, and we should probably, treat this being as such. They said, no, they're property. Do what you will with them. In fact,
well, the thing
you can. In
is,
fact, we introduced pain to these beings just so we could control them. Like they felt
yeah,
no pain before. Now they understand pain, which is even more interesting because that made it. Not only did it allow for them to be more cruel, it also meant that they understood pain and they understood the application of pain. And
yeah,
so, like, I know for TV they couldn't get that gruesome, or well, for broadcast, for the sort of thing that Orville is, they couldn't get that gruesome. But I would imagine, like, if they had become very cruel in the way they killed their masters, like, it wouldn't have been, you taught us pain. Like, why torture? Why are you torturing? You taught us pain. We will teach you to remember what pain is like.
yeah,
And that would have been very much, now, yeah, torturing them, yeah, maybe going a bit far for probably what age rating they're shooting for, but it's a thing. It's a thing that they could do, and it wouldn't, or if they implied it off screen, it would then imply that it wouldn't happen off screen. Like,
wow, I hear the mower this time.
yeah, that would have been completely understandable from the way these the Kalon were treated.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you, well, you don't work in public service, but just being mistreated in either a workforce or while you're out, just in public by somebody, how many times have you wanted to lash out at them because of how they treated you? Like, even at a shop and you had a really bad server, you know? So imagine being abused and mistreated so badly for so long. Of course they lashed out. Of course they fought back.
Yeah.
So I think, Charlie understands now. Like,
I mean, yeah, she's still gonna hold some resentment, but
yeah, she's still pissed, but it's like she understands that, first of all, she understands why they did it. But second of all, that little bit of empathy goes a long way.
bless you.
Sorry.
No problem. But yeah. And then I, even if it was a brief moment, Isaac getting feelings, that was like, oh.
I know. Although at the beginning, even before the feelings, like when Flynn's like, "What looks good here? You. What? You look good." It's just like, aw.
It's awkward, and he's trying. He's putting the effort in.
Although then when he's like, "You look good enough to eat," I'm just like, oh, he ruined it. But he's
Now, do you think it was because just something has to do with like Isaac that didn't last, or there might be a problem with the?
No, it's because they explained it in the episode, because of the way he was built. Because I forget his name, but the older model that
Timpson or something like that.
Yeah, we'll just call him Tim. Tim was one of the original models, built by the people, by the creators.
Okay.
And because he was built by them, his circuitry was built to feel and to endure feelings and pain. Because he has that upgrade, that allowed her to access the his neural pathways and reconfigure them.
Yeah, he had the capacity to do this. Yeah, it was a lot of it was turned off in response to what the builders did to them.
It's kind of like trauma. It's kind of like the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath. A sociopath is created, basically. Like, they are formed by trauma around them and by their environment. Like, they are molded to behave that way by being desensitized through abuse or through constant exposure to those kinds of things. Whereas a psychopath is born that way. A psychopath is naturally, their brain doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And not all psychopaths are bad. A lot of them are, either business people, which, not saying business people are always good, but it's just that they lack that fear and that same kind of empathy we do. They can have shallow empathies, but they cannot follow the same kinds of empathies. They're very self-centered. Both sociopaths and psychopaths are like that, but sociopaths' brains are rewired. A psychopath is naturally wired that way. And this is kind of the same thing, whereas the originals created by the aliens were traumatized so badly that they shut off that part of themselves. Further generations that they created, they just didn't put it in. And they evolved not to have that. And they could have made it stick with Isaac, but they would have had to rework his neural pathways, which means he would have had to forget everything. Which, that was such an awe thing where he was willing to sacrifice all of that for her. Just so that, he could feel for her again. And she's just like, no, I don't want that. You are who you are, and I love you as is. Sure, the feelings was nice, but I wanted that more for you than me anyways. So, That was such a sweet thing.
I know. It's like, oh.
Hmm.
Which I guess like in the future they're gonna like make a device or whatever they're gonna do to give like feelings like a lot of the Cylon or
Kalon.
Kalon, sorry.
Yeah.
To a bunch of the Kalons, and then you're gonna have like the Kalons with feelings now fighting the Kalons who, could not get feelings.
Although, what they could do is create an upgrade patch and put it into, because don't they have a base neural net, like a collective hive that, if I remember, it's been years now, but if I remember correctly, didn't they have a thing and they wanted Isaac to connect to it, and they basically do a memory dump, and it's kind of like a cloud.
Yeah, yeah.
Where they back up all their information. So if they got Tim in there with his upgrade and was able to, put that into the cloud, they could reactivate those feelings and those, that aspect of them en masse.
Basically almost willing to do what they were considering doing with Hugh.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
But they ended up doing anyway because the individuality infected anyways, and that's supposed to have done something to the collective, and that, like, his whole individuality, he seemed to have some. I remember it had some sort of effect on the collective anyway. Was that he had a little bit of individuality still.
Do you have
the
any
surface.
intention of ever watching Picard?
I might one day, and I don't think we should spoil people who are watching an Orville review with Picard spoilers. But
because they actually make reference to that in Picard.
Yeah. But I'm sure. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah. If you could give like be an interesting weapon would be one that you launch at the Kalon and it infects them and makes them be able to feel emotions and everything and empathy, and then they all just start screaming. A bit like that, a bit like the Doctor with the Cyberman. Whenever when he slam the cell phone into it, and just like boop, everything works with everything, boop, and it interrupts the sort of thing that's sort of dulling their ability to
their
feel
emotion. Yeah.
And so it just and then they see themselves and like, and it just chaos. But yeah,
and then although like for like the funnier parts of this episode when it's like, yeah, they believe that men are inferior, and Borg's like, oh, that's just stupid. Everybody just stares at him.
Yeah,
no,
that was
it's like, why are we associating with someone like that? And everybody's like, wow.
Excuse me?
Oh yeah. And when freaking it's like, hey, well, we have an idea. And they're like, Mercer, Malloy, get over here. And they're like trying to carry the luggage.
It's got great physical comedy.
It is, yeah. He like trips and goes all the stuff goes flying. And then it's like, oh, I like him. Is he yours? Well, no. Well then,
I want him in my bed. Well, no, we let them decide. But they're inferior. They can't decide for themselves. No, we treat them as equals. But you still have female-dominated society here. It's like, well, actually,
Or equal.
and then they once again used her cheating as a focal
Oh
point.
yeah.
It's like, no, but you see, he was loyal and stayed with, and was loyal only to me, but I'm the one who slept around. Which is kind of what you do in your society, right?
Yeah.
So we do have something in common, which was a completely weak suggestion, but at the same time,
And
yeah.
Mark, Alice, when you feel like you want to bring a representative, we will welcome her with open arms.
Yeah. I like the fact that they brought these guys up, because they were actually referenced in the first episode Tala was in. Remember when she was talking to when she first came aboard, and it's like, it says here you punched your captain. Well, we were talking to this matriarchal society, and I had to take charge so that they wouldn't see us weak and attack us. And so I punched him and took over the ship. Just for show.
Oh, I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
And I forgot
yeah.
how many plots this thing has, because the Kalon absorbs so much of the heavy part of this plot. But we have 3 plot lines going. We've got the Kalon, which is the heavy A plot, the B plot where they're dealing with the matriarchal society, and then you have Lamar's relationship.
Oh, yeah, like
It's like, wow. Yeah, I know. And I felt bad because it's like they really do care for each other, but he can't handle it. Which, I mean, if they were honest about it and brought it to the doctor, maybe she could figure something out for them. Something that would weaken Kiali when they were getting it on. Some sort of protection.
No. She's waiting in a room, right? Then all of a sudden, it just goes really quiet, and you're. It comes in with like this massive mecha suit on.
I was just thinking, brings no meaning to having to wear protection. He's like there with a suit of armor. It's like, you this is the 3rd time this week. Yeah, it's just such a good workout. Not if it kills you.
And then like the last time he's just like beating the hell up, and it's just like, oh. But I just like think though, like he broke his leg and it's like his face, right? I'm surprised none of those times he shattered his pelvis.
Actually, one of them was.
Okay.
That one, it's like, and a broken pelvis? What are you doing in there?
Brings whole new meaning for death by snoo.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, I think that was on the tip of all of our tongues at the moment. Just like, yeah, death by snoo.
Doesn't matter. Had sex.
I mean, here's an idea. He's on top.
I don't think that matters.
and then just handcuff her to the bed like really strong handcuffs.
Well, yeah, bondage might help.
Just breaks the bed apart and slams his face in it. It's like, nope.
Well, see, and that is something Claire could have suggested, well, in cases like this, have you tried bondage?
Yeah, so you could have some sort of gravity harness on her. Maybe you could have some sort of gravity harness that would hold. It would affect her, but not him, because that's your main problem. Is you need to slow her down, and not him. And it would also double as a way of making sure that she doesn't lose her strength.
Yeah, like something that just to weaken her for a little bit, just
or give her strength something else to do so that she's not using it on him. Like, even if she applies all the strength she has, the only strength she has available is normal strength, is a normal level.
Like, but instead of talking with the doctor about it, he just decides to keep going to sickbay for
broken bones
and like.
Well, I mean, thank God with their like advanced technology. See, right now, if that happened to like one of us, it's like, okay, honey, we can't do anything for like 3 weeks while my leg heals.
Yeah, that would be literal death by snooze snoo.
Oh, no. I'd be like, okay, here, sir, here's your medical bill.
Yeah.
I think we basically ripped through all 3 main storylines.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 3.5, because I mean, the whole Isaac Claire thing was.
It was kind of part of the A plot, but it was
it's
also...
kind of like plot 1A or 1B rather.
Yeah, it's sort of it's a sidecar plot that goes along with the main plot. It's kind of its own thing too.
Yeah.
So it's a sidecar plot. It's driving along with the main plot, and it hinges heavily on the main plot.
Because the main plot is the whole, trying to find a way to give this, dealing with the Kalons and that acceptance part. But then the side plot for that was their relationship, how that evolved.
Yeah.
And realizing that even though he doesn't have actual emotions, he still loves her because...
Oh, very much so.
You don't have to be able to express those kinds of things to actually... you don't even have to understand them. And it's kind of like, in a way, a form of autism where you don't feel that you have feelings. You don't feel like you feel anything. You're basically numb, but at the same time, your body reacts like you have feelings. Your behavior expresses emotion even when you don't feel that you feel them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is a very weird thing to go through.
Although, honestly, I want to say one thing. Originally, I thought it was going to be like, yeah, I got these feelings and stuff. I realized I don't actually love you.
No.
Like, plot twist.
No, that wouldn't happen because he genuinely cares for her. Like, and you can see that he actually has emotions without actually being able to express that he has emotions, because he doesn't feel that he has emotions even though he expresses them.
Yeah. Like, I bet if something did, like, happen to her, like, she nearly died or something, he would just lose it.
He would. I mean, he sacrificed. He was willing to sacrifice everything for her. Like when she he went out of his way to say to give Topa her reassignment surgery so that he doesn't lose Claire. Like, he wasn't suggesting it until Claire's like, no, I will resign from the union. I will leave if that's what it takes to save this kid. And he's like, I can do it. He didn't care before. He wasn't going to suggest it. He wasn't even thinking about it until it's like, wait, I'm going to lose Claire. I'll do it.
Yeah, it was a sweet episode.
It was. Like, even before he, was able to feel, like, understand and have that opened up to him.
Yeah.
He still was feeling, like, he still was naturally reacting to the stimuli as if he had emotion.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how it feels to be neurodivergent.
I can agree with that.
All
Like,
I got nothing more.
Okay.
I love the allegory in the Orville and how well it's done.
Well, I think, going on another Doctor Who tangent for the day, this is what, like, okay, allegory is important because it separates it and allows you to look at something without being so emotionally tied into whatever you're doing. Because if you do, it's the difference between Chibnall's Trump episode, which is so ham-fisted and obvious and doesn't really do the job of allegory. It just sort of, we want to beat on our Trump pinata for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
This is, these are more, the Orville does a much better job of using allegory, using the fact that they're in space and they can take other societies, change up the situation, but still say the same things that they want to say without people having as much, people can read into what they're going after here, but it's not so ham-fisted and in your face and,
Well, that's the point. Like, the whole point of allegory is being able to objectify a situation so that people aren't automatically turned off, because a lot of you're with stuff like that Trump episode or stuff like the ecology, which I actually liked practice because it had Warren Brown in it. But aside from that, I admit it was very over the top as far as, oh, look, it's a disaster because we are putting too much plastic in the earth. And like stuff like that is going to do one of two things. Either you're already in the mindset to accept it, so you are going to be like, yeah, look at this. Yeah, this is what we need to fix. Or you're going to be so turned off by it because you're like, I am sick and tired of you guys telling me what to do. Whereas stuff like the social media episode in the first the first season, it's like of the Orville. It talks about it puts you in the situation and shows you, listen, this is what life is like on another world, and it takes you out of the situation enough that you can see how ridiculous it is.
Yeah,
and like
allegory lets you get past people's reflexive defenses on things, because it's not, we're not talking about you, we're talking about this, but you can see how we might disagree because this is how we kind of see things.
Yeah.
But well,
not even that. Like with the Topa episode, like it's there is a huge issue about transgender rights now, and a lot of people are like, there's no such thing as transgender. There's male or female, and you can't be one. You're born the way you are, and the rest is just a mental illness. And then there are the people who are like, you know, any pronoun you want, and then there's the people in between. But whereas if this were one of the Chibnall episodes, it would be all like, you know, completely polarizing because it's a polarizing subject. Whereas this, it takes out that polarization and is like, this is about a young person, a child who is going through a really tough time because of something her parents did, and because she is going through an identity crisis, and it's not, the focus is not the transgenderism, it's because her species is all male, but she identifies as female, it causes that chaos. And that is the most polarizing episode that the Orville has had, and it still objectifies it enough that you can take it and side with her, even if you're against, you know, even if you are vehemently against trans, you know, if you're born with a dick, you are a boy, you know, those kind of people. They still could side with Topa because of the situation and how it was written, you know?
Yeah, if you sit there with an, you know, the allegory gives you a little layer of, okay, you can explore this space without pointing the finger and saying you're evil. You know, this is the situation. This is another way to look at this situation. We're not pointing fingers at you. This is a different situation. This is an allegory. This is a story. If you took something out of it, well, that's you. We may have said we have something in here, but if you were able to pull it back out of what we put in, then maybe you might have a change of heart about something. And you're not, you know, it's just like Chibnall stuff, because it's so ham-fisted, is not going to win any converts. Like, you're not, if you're trying to get people to, what you're going to do is only sort of signal to the same people that already agree with you.
Because the writing is so polarized and so, like, because Chibnall's writing is so polarized, so, like, forced, that it just causes conflict. It causes, I don't know whether they did it for the shock value or what, but it's not going to do anything.
Yeah, you can make a political statement without, you can imply a statement without having to directly ham-fistedly do it the way Chibnall does. You can make a statement, you can have a point, you can have allegory, but he's not talented enough to do that.
I don't think it's just him, because it's not even just, you know, he's not the only writer, he was the head writer.
Yeah, but
if that part of it wasn't just that, it was also, I think, the position the BBC is in right now. You know, they're very PC, very, you know, pro rights. That's why they hired a gay black actor for the next Doctor. I mean, plus, apparently he's a good actor. Supposedly.
Well, that was more, I think that was Rusty Davies choosing him. But yeah, it's that same. But I don't. Yeah, I think the BBC at that point were basically just like, okay, Davies, pick who you want, and that was who Davies picked. Now, obviously, Davies seems extremely excited about him, and I don't know that much about him, but
I don't know anything about him, so I've never seen anything he's in. I'd never heard of him. I didn't even know how to pronounce his name until somebody told me.
But yeah, he's going to be, yeah. I'm right now. I'm going to do with him the same thing I did with Whitaker. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he'll be great. I don't know. Davies seems excited about him, and he gave us both Eccleston and Tennant. He gave us Tennant. So I'm gonna give him I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. Davies is excited about him. I don't know anything about him, so I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because Davies gave us Eccleston and Tennant, and I like both those guys. So I'm gonna trust his judgment.
I'm gonna be
He's-
honest. I like Eccleston more now that he's been in Big Finish.
Mm-hmm.
I like his Big Finish work.
Yeah, he had a short run, but I like 9. I don't. He's not my favorite, but I do like him.
Yeah. Although honestly, the only Doctor I don't actually like at this point was like Whitaker, and I don't hate her. I just think that she fell really flat. But at a point, if she starts doing Big Finish, who knows? Maybe. Because Big Finish have amazing writers and great plot direction and character arcs, and just are really great with the storytelling aspect. So maybe
Yeah, Whitaker's only character
something
arc was the Timeless Child, and that was awful.
yeah, like that was just so thrown in there last minute to try to do something.
They
You know.
tried to seed it in the early parts of her run, but like he was planting weeds, not flowers.
Yeah. And honestly, we don't know where this will, what is going to happen with it, what Rusty is going to do with it or not do with it. And who knows, maybe at some point in the future, Big Finish will get a hold of it and make it, polish that shit into a diamond. Who knows?
Or everybody will just pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I think that's my preferred thing, is everybody just forgets that happened and just like it didn't happen, or either writes it out or just pretends it didn't happen, and treats everything, goes back to Moffat and says, "Okay, we're gonna use your timeline because it's actually good."
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's a way they can put it in there somehow. And honestly, I really did like Dwan's Sasha's master. Like the O Master was actually really fun. And I liked him. But
yeah.
I think he could have been written better, and the plots surrounding him could have been done better.
Yeah,
But we'll
I
see.
think he was I think he would have been an okay master. It would have been if he had been written by Davies or Moffat. I think he would have done just fine.
He was well acted.
Yeah, I think it wasn't on him. I don't put any of the bad stuff on him. I put all of that on writing and show running and directing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he actually, I think if he had been under Davies or Moffat, he might have done okay. Whitaker, I don't know if she would have been okay even under Davies or Moffat. I mean, she would have been better. She would have been much better. I think actually maybe even they could have worked with what she can't do and worked around it. Like they would have known what her limitations were, and like, okay, you're not, even if they picked her and despite her limitations on how imposing she can be, her stage presence, I think they could have written they would have written a more consistent character with an arc that was interesting and fun, and it would have been she would have been a much better Doctor under either of those two. Not that I think that they would necessarily have picked her.
I think the reason Chibnall picked her was because he worked with her before.
Yeah. I think, and like I suspect, or I might have heard as a rumor, there was the cop in Broadchurch. She was dealing with, like, she was in a thing about the Royals or something, and like she was busy, she couldn't do Doctor Who, or she was moving up in the world, and so like she played a cop, but I've seen bits of what she can do, and it was intriguing. She might have been a good. I wonder if she was his first pick, and then just okay, well she's not available. Whitaker, okay, I've worked with her before. You know,
Like, I know who you're talking about because I have seen Broadchurch, and she's a good actor. I mean,
I think she
yeah,
would have been. She might have been better than a better option than Whitaker.
yeah,
Of the women on Broadchurch, I think she would have been the better doctor to pick.
yeah.
But
But I mean, to be fair, I didn't see past season 2 of Broadchurch. I only saw like part of season 2 of Broadchurch, and Whitaker's character arc in there was just getting to her own, you know. So
anyway, we've run
Oh,
over
yeah.
we've run over time. We were on to weird tangents, so I think we should call it there if there are no further things about the Orville.
nope. But good news. Next week is the season coming back of what's it called?
Resident Alien.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think it's the 10th.
Anyway,
Just in time.
Goodbye, people.
We'll have more stir.
all right.